Hi, I'm so excited to share with you this beautiful Christmas card. We're going to be making this today, and it is just lovely. I'm just thrilled about this one. So I'm going to teach you how to make this. We are going to be using a couple different stamp sets. So this is the tag buffet. Make sure I don't have too much glare on that. So we're going to be using the Merry Christmas and then this saying on the inside. This is really cute for not just tags but all kinds of Christmas cards. And then we're using a background stamp called Dry Brush. And then the dies that we're going to be using are the Wreath Builder dies. So we're going to be using these two to cut out our wreath pieces. So I'm going to get those set aside. And then we are going to be using a really pretty color palette today. We're going to be using Mint Macaron and Pretty Peacock along with some Just Jade paper. So the pieces that you're going to need, your card base is a half a sheet of Pretty Peacock. I'm just going to go ahead and get that folded right now. So it is an 8.5 by 11 cut in half and then folded and creased along that half. Then we're going to need a piece of Just Jade and a piece of Whisper White. So the Whisper White is 3 3/4 by 5. And we're going to layer that on a piece that's just a little bit just a little bit larger of Just Jade. This is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And you can see that I have cut out with the stitched rectangles. This is the third largest. So I've cut that out of the center. Nobody's going to see that because we're going to layer that on top. And that's going to be for our inside. And you also, I don't need two of them, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White that's about 2 3/4 by 4 that you can use your stitch shapes on. This is the fourth largest, so we're going to put those on for the inside. Then you're going to need 2 squares of paper. You're going to need one in Pretty Peacock. This is 3 3/4 inch square, and this other one in a Designer Series paper. Now I have chosen the Forever Greenery Designer Series paper pack. I love this one. I think I'm already on my 3rd pack of it. So this is the print that we're going to be using today. And you wouldn't necessarily think that this would be a great print for a wreath, but it is. When you look at this detail, oh, it is so great because you're just getting little bits of all the different colors of green. And so it layers up so pretty with this other Pretty Peacock piece. So we're going to need that. Now, we're going to start out with our dry brush. So, this dry brush is a beautiful background, but it's a little bit more intense than I wanted. So, I'm going to be using Mint Macaron, and if I had just inked that up with my stamp pad, and the way you would do that is take your stamp pad and then just turn it over and ink it up like that. If you were to do that, this is what you get. Now, it's pretty, but it's a little bit more dramatic than what I wanted. So the technique I'm going to show you is we are going to use a sponge. Now this is an old sponge. I've been using Stampin' Up sponges for a long time. But when you purchase them, this is what they look like. You get a pack of 3 that cost $4, so this is a very good investment. And then you take the sponge and you're going to cut it in half and then either cut it into 3 pieces or 2 so that you can have either quarters or 6. And this is going to go a long way. So we are going to take our sponge, and you can wash these out when you're all done, by the way. And you're going to apply ink to your background stamp. So this is what's going to give you that softer, more muted look. And it really doesn't look like you're putting much ink on here, but trust me, there is ink on this background stamp. You're just going to keep applying it all over until you think you have enough coverage. And then add a little bit more, just because, like I said, it is a little hard to tell when you're sponging it on here just how much you have. I think that looks pretty good. And then you're going to take your Whisper White paper and you're just going to carefully lay it down here like so. And then I usually take a piece of scrap paper and I put it on top and I hold it, and I want to make certain that I'm not moving around my bottom piece of white. And I'm just going to give this a really good press, and I'm just trying to get that ink transferred evenly over to my Whisper White piece. So that's why using a block is really good, because that gives you nice pressure. And then when you're ready, you can lift that off, and you can see, I'm going to compare it, Look at the difference. So it's much softer. This is a great way to extend the use of your background stamps. All right, so I'm going to move that out of the way so we don't get in trouble. And I'm going to close up my ink pad. All right, now I am going to bring in my Stamparatus, and we are going to stamp our sentiment. So I'm just going to put this over here. I've already lined this up. And the reason it's really great to use your Stamparatus for this is because if you're going to be making multiples, it's so easy to get this lined up. I'm going to move it over just a little bit so that you can do multiples really, really fast. So here I am going to use my Pretty Peacock rather. And I'm going to stamp that on here and then close that and press it down. Give it a nice rub. That looks beautiful. All right, and while I have my Stamparatus here, I am going to use my inside white piece, and I have mounted the inside sentiment on my plate, and I'm just going to hold this down with the magnet. I'm going to stamp this again with my Pretty Peacock, so that way I'll have everything done on my Stamparatus. Give that a really nice press. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to set this aside. We are all done with that. And now we can do some layering. So I'm going to take my piece that we had cut out of the middle of our layering piece on the front. And this is actually going to be on the inside of the card. So I'm just going to center these two stitched rectangles, and that'll be ready for my inside. And then I am ready for this onto our Just Jade piece. And remember, you're just going to want to put adhesive right around that outside edge. Most of the time I put a little swirl there in the middle. And this border is going to be very small. It's just about 1/16 of an inch. And that looks wonderful. So then we are ready to add this to the front of our card. So I'm going to use some dimensionals, and you don't want to be stingy here. I'm putting at the corners along the long sides, and then I am going to add a couple more, a little bit more in the center, like that. So that's going to give that plenty of support. And peel off our backings, and then we can mount this onto our card front. All right, so just center that, and we might as well go ahead and put our inside piece in while we're doing all this, and then we're going to work on our beautiful, beautiful wreath. So go ahead and set that in the middle. And this is nice. It gives you a space here to write and do your signature. So now we look at these two pieces. I'm going to close up this ink pad before I get something in it. So I've got this, which is more of a plain leaf, and then this lacy one. So what we're going to do is add a little bit of glue. Oh, I see a piece of it that didn't fall out. So we're just going to put it a little bit of glue. I like to call it the ring of the wreath. I guess this would be the, I don't know, the stockier part. So it's just a little bit along that center, and we're going to lay that on top of our Pretty Peacock piece. And we're just going to press that down. All right. That looks great. So then what I wanted to do is bring some of these leaves that are behind to the front. And it's just going to depend on where this falls on your pieces. Some pieces are easier to bring forward than others. And sometimes you're going to have almost the whole leaf. Sometimes it's only going to be part of the leaf. It just is going to depend. But play around with it. They're going to intermingle. And once you get that where you like it, we'll get a few more that are on top. So it looks a little bit more like it's intertwined than just one on top of the other. I think I can do another one here. So that gives it a beautiful, beautiful look. I wonder if I can do one more here. No, that does not want to go. All right, so we are ready to stick that on here. So now this is where you can add just a little bit more glue. I like putting it more on these larger leaves. And you don't have to have everyone stuck down. It gives it a little bit of life if some of your leaves are lifted a little bit. And we're just going to go ahead and stick that right there. Make sure that is stuck down pretty well. All right, so this is where I thought it would be lovely to pull in a little bit more of our Just Jade. You're going to need about 11 inches of this Just Jade ribbon. I like to leave mine on the spool so that I minimize my waste when I'm tying bows. So I tie it while it's attached, and then you can adjust this to get the bow the length that you want, and then pull it really tight, and then you're just going to give that a trim. All right. I like to stick down my bows with glue dots. They really hold it quite well, and they're simple. All you do is you just put a little dot there in the back of the knot, and we're going to position that at the base of our wreath. All right, so now it's time for some bling. So I have some of my rhinestone basic jewels, and I'm going to be using my Take Your Pick tool. So you just go ahead and scatter some of these around. And I didn't really count how many I put. I just kind of put them in here randomly. But we're just adding bling to our little wreath. And it gives that a little bit of sparkle and that extra touch that lets people know that you really cared when you made them their Christmas card. And you get a bazillion of these gems on this sheet, so they will go pretty far. And I think I'll do one more over here. There. What do you think? Isn't that gorgeous? So then I was thinking, what if you didn't want these non-traditional colors? This is a little bit more modern. What would it look like if you chose some other colors? So here is another card that I made. And this one I did with Old Olive, Pear Pizzazz, and then this Mossy Meadow Green. And then I used some other designer series paper. This is from the Warm Hugs suite. And it has a little bits of the Mellow Moss and the Pear Pizzazz in there. And then I chose a red ribbon and red rhinestones to give this a more, I guess what you're used to seeing, your traditional colors. I also chose to use a different stamp set on this one. And it has a little bit more of a lacier look on the inside. So let me know, what do you think? Do you like the traditional one with the red rhinestones, or do you like the little bit more modern one in the pretty peacock? So let me know in your comments. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I would love to earn your business. If you need any supplies to make this, I have a host code right here. You can find more details of this on my blog, which is thepowerofacard.blogspot.com. And I have a shopping list and everything that you need in order to make these cards. Thanks so much for watching.